How, like, originally did you sell yourself to these Fortune 500 companies?
Yeah. Um, so early on in my career, when I started the performance training part of it, I read this article in like Forbes or Fortune that said that at that time, and I would assume it's still relatively similar, that 94% of Fortune 500 CEOs were former athletes. And so immediately I was like, okay, these people resonate with that athlete mindset. A lot of them were athletes themselves. They've obviously used that mindset, those habits, etc., to climb the ladder and get to where they are. And so that was really the way I sold it. Obviously I leveraged my credibility, being able to say, I'm a former Super Bowl champion that played for Bill Belichick, Dan Reeves, Joe Gibbs, these Hall of Fame head coaches that, a lot of these executives that are in their 50s and 60s, they grew up in that era. They remember those guys, and certainly the Patriots, in the last 20 years have had all that success. So that immediately got me in the door and got me able to have conversations. And then through, in the midst of those conversations, just talking about some of those principles and from the leadership standpoint and from the performance standpoint, that pretty much sold it. Because look, otherwise I'll be totally honest, I have no problem admitting I don't have corporate experience. I've never sat in a C-suite position. So I can't go to them and say, hey, I've been here, I've sat in your chair, and so I know what those struggles are and what leadership looks like from that perspective. And I think, again, that's one of the things that makes what I do valuable, is because those guys have sat in those seats and they know that perspective. They're looking for a different perspective. They're looking for how can we solve some of these problems? How do we build teams? How do we elevate our people? How do we train and coach our people in a way that's different than the way we've always done it? And so I think that's where my program is valuable, because I come in, as an outsider basically with a totally different perspective, the perspective of, pro athlete and Hall of Fame head coaches. And I'm able to, take some of the problems that they're having, relate that back to what I saw some of those great leaders that I played for, the way that I saw them solve some of those problems, or bring people together, or lead people through adversity. And I'm able to make that relate to some of the stuff that they're going through. And so I think that's what makes it valuable. And ultimately that's how I sold it. That's how I got my foot in the door. It wasn't because I had this body of work, working with a bunch of other companies and a bunch of other executives. It was that I had that experience in pro sports, working with those Hall of Fame coaches. And again, Fortune 500 companies, and particularly the companies that I work with, they are full of either former athletes or people that love sports. And so all the sports references and analogies and all that totally resonate with them, and that mindset. I only have to explain some of this stuff once and they're like, got it, makes sense. So I think that's kind of my competitive advantage. Like I said, I don't have that experience of having sat in those seats, but I've got experience that so few people in the world actually have. And that's how I sold it, and I think that's what continues to get me hired. And obviously the program is effective, and if I can say so, I think I'm good at what I do. And so once I get in the door, it's usually those engagements are 3, 4, and some of these companies that I'm working with, I'm going on 5 years doing leadership development for them. So obviously they see that there's an ROI there, and they like the material. What's interesting is, as people climb the chain, they realize more and more that they need help. The highest level executives that I have worked with were people that throughout the course of their career, they've had coaches, they've had mentors, they've gone through leadership programs. And those are the people that more than anybody else say, hey, I didn't get here by myself. I'm not self-made. I had great people around me. I had great advice. I had great coaches that I played for when I played sports and then in business. And so it's interesting, because you would have thought that it would be the other way around, right? That people that are kind of at the top of the mountain, that are multi-million-dollar a year CEOs, are the people that would say, I've got this all figured out. It's actually the opposite. It's a lot of times the people that are climbing the ladder that don't think they need help, or they need the advice or the opinion of somebody else. So yeah, That's a good question. Sometimes, people in middle management can be the ones that are the most difficult to get buy-in from, the ones that it's a little bit of a harder sell. Luckily for me, the way it's structured in the companies that I work with is the executive will put these people in the group. And so they'll basically say, hey, we want you to go through this program. We've tabbed you as somebody that we think will be a future leader at a high level in this company. And so we want you to go through this training and this program. This is somebody that we've worked with. And so based on kind of the credibility of the executive, the people will buy into the program. But if it was just me on my own, yeah, it'd probably be a lot harder sell. But that's one of the reasons why, and I don't mean this derogatorily, but I love working with the super high level people because they just get it. And they, when I say, hey, here's a blind spot, here's an area where if you made this one little tweak or this one little pivot, you could be significantly more effective. They're like, I'm on it, I'll do it. There's no pushback, they don't question it. And it's really interesting psychology. And I guess maybe I should have known that because, again, my experience in pro sports is that the guys at the highest levels, those were the guys doing everything. Those were the guys that had 3 or 4 coaches, mentors, people critiquing everything that they were doing, giving them feedback constantly. And because of that, they continued to get better and better and better. And it's the same way in business. The guys that have been really successful, the guys that are leading major companies, major organizations, they're the first ones to say, hey, I want to hire a coach. I want to get an outside set of eyes on this, somebody that can point out some blind spots and somebody that can help me lead more effectively and grow my people. Well, no, because I started the business technically 10 years ago, and obviously it's a slow grind. Took me probably 2 or 3 years to start really making any money. But I started when I got my first clients. It was like realtors, loan officers, people like that, working like performance training. So it was more centered around, if you're in sales, my promise was I can help you do more in sales by implementing principles, mindset, practices, things like that of pro athletes. So it was really kind of that pro athlete mindset applied to your business, particularly in sales. And I liked doing that, but I just got repetitive. So it really wasn't the lane that I just wanted to continue to pursue, like training salespeople, coaching salespeople. And truthfully, I wasn't training from a true sales background. There's sales programs out there that are very sales specific that are much better than what I was doing. I was taking it from the perspective more of, if you understand some of that like true sales process and sales psychology, I can help you implement the mindset, the practices, habits, and those things to help you execute better on the sales training that you already have or that you know. So I did that for 3 or 4 years and was building the business and having success. And then I got an opportunity to pivot more into leadership development, which is what I've been doing now for probably the last 5 years of the business, which I really love. It's one-on-one, high-level, executive level, region president level leadership development. So I either work with the executive, the leader, or people on their team. And within the leadership development, there's still that element of performance training. We still talk about mindset practices, habits, all those type of things. But essentially what I did was I took all of the leadership skills and things that I saw from the leaders that I was around, 3 Hall of Fame head coaches, Joe Gibbs, Dan Reeves, Bill Belichick. And those guys were fantastic at building an organization, building a team, taking people from diverse backgrounds, all over the country, different family settings, different belief systems, all of the above. And they were able to, obviously, in a pro sports team, rally those people around a common goal. And that's a really hard thing to do. And that's one of the things that a lot of people in corporate at high levels struggle with. And so that's really what the leadership development program is centered around. And I love it because I get to work one-on-one with people. So my program is not, an online program that's self-paced, that somebody goes and logs into a website and, does a little worksheet and watches a video. I intentionally created it to be something different. And it's been really successful. I really enjoy doing it. The problem that I'm facing now that I'm really trying to solve and what I'm trying to build to get to that like 7-figure point is how do I scale that? Because right now I'm the bottleneck. I can only take so many clients. To get $30,000, $40,000 a month in income in my business, I've got to have 20, 25, 30 clients to do that. And typically those are 2 Zoom calls a month. So just double that. If I've got 30 clients going in a given month, that's 60 Zoom calls. And you might say, oh, well, that's only, 60 hours a month of work, but that's a lot of Zoom calls. Those are draining Zoom calls, sometimes hour and a half calls. So what I'm building right now is I'm trying to build out a platform where I can scale that, where I can do a little bit more of small group type training, so I can have maybe 5 or 10 people in a group at a time, still maintain that one-on-one feel. But it's something that I could scale where I could ultimately get to, 80, 90, 100 grand a month and not significantly increase the workload on myself. Because the other thing at this point in my life is, the thing that I think about is if I want to grow my business, at what cost? Because I've had a lot of business coaches that I've worked with that have said, oh man, you just need to do this and that, and you can scale this thing to, 100 grand a month. And I'm like, well, yeah, but if that means that I'm going to be, traveling 4 or 5 times a month, I'm not going to be potentially home on the weekends to do Sunday dinner with the family, or, my quality of life is going to significantly reduce because now I'm out here chasing this money. I don't think at this point in my life I want to make that trade-off. And so the question for me is, how do I build this thing, maintain the authenticity, maintain what makes my program so valuable and so effective, which is that one-on-one time that I get with the clients, and still be able to scale it and add that top line revenue without diminishing my quality of life. So if anybody watching knows how I can do that, you got my email, hit me up and let me know. But I've got some things in the works. I'm building out a couple platforms and some things that I'm about to introduce to some of the companies that I work with. And I think what I'm currently building can be the thing that can get me there. At least it'll be the starting point. So. All right, I just in that 45-minute workout, I don't know if you can see that, burned almost 700 calories. So did a little jump rope to warm up, hit the heavy bag, pull-ups, push-ups, and then sprints on the treadmill. So today was technically just a cardio day, so not like a rest and recovery day, but it was just a good cardio day. Didn't lift any weights, but wanted to move the body and wanted to hit the bag. So mission accomplished, good little workout. And now we got to get some food and get back to work.
Can we expect to see some more boxing from you moving forward, or what?
Yeah, man, I used to box a lot, and I haven't done it nearly as much as I want to since I moved back up here. Haven't really found a boxing gym that I like or that I'll consistently go to. And then the gym that I was going to that had heavy bags, they removed them. So we found this one with this heavy bag. So maybe come over here a little bit. But yeah, I'd like to get back into more boxing training. I don't want to spar or do anything like that, but just hitting the bag and doing the training is good. I love it.
Because you were in some amateur fights, huh, in Atlanta.
Yeah. Like 5 years ago, I did amateur masters tournament, 40
Roll
and
the
over.
clips.
Yeah, I'll drop a couple clips of that in here, and I'll drop some clips of some of my training and sparring in here. I wasn't very good, but for me, I hadn't like felt that competitive fire, like the competitive juice, since I retired from football. And so actually stepping in the ring, doing something that was like live bullets, scared me a little bit. I wanted to feel that, like that juice, that competitive fire, and that definitely did it for me. And I had this really cool boxing gym that I was training in where there was a bunch of pros there. Evander Holyfield was in there, his son was training. Like Gervonta Davis trained in there. We had a ton of world champions that trained in there, so it was fun to be in that environment around those guys. And it just got my juices going again, and so I wanted to compete and get in the ring. And so I did 3 amateur fights. I won all of them. No knockouts, but I won them all by decision. They were just 3-round fights, but yeah, it was fun, and it gave me that perspective of like what it's like to actually get in the ring and have to fight. Because I've trained in boxing for like almost 30 years, just on and off, just to stay in shape. But to actually get in the ring and have to fight another guy was a whole different deal. So I want to get back into the boxing training, but not the fighting or sparring at all.
Oh yeah.
Right, so we got the workout done, got a little sauna session in. I love that place. It's got a good sauna, good little locker room and showers. So we got a sauna session, got a shower, and now we got to go get, I'm starving. You hungry?
Yeah, I could use some food.
All right, so we got to get some food and grab a coffee. I still got a little bit of work to do on the computer, and just keep the day rolling, man. I always feel better after I work out. I need to start working out earlier in the day. I need to be one of these guys that gets up at like 5 a.m. and gets the workout in. My current schedule, it's just not a part of the way I do it. So that might be something that I need to make a switch and work out earlier in the day. I think, and look, this is not groundbreaking, but I think working out is one of the most important things you can do. And a lot of the people that I work with, that's one of the things that we talk about in the leadership development program. I have a module in there that's based off of the old Stephen Covey 7 Habits, Sharpen the Saw. I think it's so important that leaders, high-level leaders, prioritize, not just maintain their physical health, but prioritize their physical health. When you get in better condition, when you work out and you're taking better care of yourself, like everything gets better. And you don't have to have worked for many companies or been around many executives or business people, business owners, people that have built companies, to know that when time gets tight, because those guys are often very busy, one of the first things that slips, one of the first things they let go of is the health and fitness aspect of it. They stop going to the gym, they stop working out, they stop doing anything health-wise. And I just think it's one of the most important things that you can do. And so it's almost a requirement that I tell people up front, like, hey, if you're gonna work with me, one of the things that we're gonna prioritize, if you don't already, is your health and fitness. And I'm not a stickler on that. Like, I don't monitor them, but I make sure that they're getting to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. We have options I've got people that I work with, companies that I partner with for meal service, meal delivery, things like that. And I just think it's really important. So certainly for me, I try to model that. I'm not like super extremely dialed on my diet, but I try to eat healthy. I work out 5 or 6 days a week, and so I'm trying to model what I'm asking these people to do. I'm trying to lead by example in that respect as well. So working out's of huge importance to me. It's something I do, like I said, 5 or 6 days a week. And so now we got to do the other part of it, which is get some good food in our system, and then grab a coffee and get some more work done. 16 iced royal. Favorite coffee spot? I probably come here 3 times a week. Not because I love the coffee, I do, the coffee's good, but I love the ambiance. Go sit outside, get some sunlight.
Oh yeah.
Gets me out of my office after I'm on Zoom calls all day. Come and do this, it's perfect.
What's the order?
I always get, in the summertime, I get a 16-ounce iced royal, which is like I think the royal is like a salted caramel.
How are you feeling about all the new AI stuff, and has that impacted the coaching business at all? Or have you implemented it anywhere?
Yeah, well, so I love AI. Like I use it for a lot of stuff. I think it can have a positive impact on coaching and a negative impact. The negative impact is that a lot of these coaches out here are just using like their entire program is basically just AI built.
Yeah.
And those are the programs that are, posted on Kajabi or School or something like that. You buy it for a couple $100. It's self-paced, but it's all AI generated, and so very generic, very cookie cutter. I think, as it relates to me, for coaches like myself or people that actually have a coaching business where they themselves are coaching their clients, they're not just selling. So look, a lot of these people that call themselves coaches, what they are is they're in marketing and sales. And so they have AI or somebody build a program, and then their whole business is how to sell it. And look, obviously you got to sell it to make money, but those of us out there that are actually coaching people, that are actually working with the executives or the people that we're working with, what I've done in the last probably 3 years, I first started using ChatGPT, now I'm more using Claude, is like at least once a year, maybe I should do it more, I'll run my program through Claude and say, hey, analyze this, pick this apart, show me where I could beef this up, how this could be better, how it could be streamlined. And I've done that for the last 2 years. And every time, like, the program just gets better, it gets sharper. I'm focusing on things that are like moving the needle more. And I'm definitely going to lean into, to answer your question, I'm leaning heavy into, getting feedback essentially, or opinions from Claude on what steps I could take to scale this thing. Because again, what's crazy is that Claude for me is what I was talking about before, having like a fresh set of eyes on it, like an outside opinion, somebody that can point out some blind spots. Like a lot of times I'll say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, I want to do it like this, and Claude will come back and say, yeah, here's the potential, roadblocks you could run into, here's the potential hurdles with that. If it was me, I would do it this way. And a lot of times I'm like, shit, that's a really good idea. That's really good feedback. And so I think if you're again, somebody like me that's actually coaching your clients, you can use AI to sharpen those skills, sharpen your programs, make sure that the things you're talking about are the most effective use of your time. But I'll never be a guy that just says, hey, build me a full program and then just package that up and sell it. Like that's not the type of business that I want to run. It's not the brand that I want to build.
Going off that, why do you think all these CEOs and founders are not starting or have been on YouTube and social media platforms so much as of recent?
Because attention and exposure are the new currencies. You look at some of these guys that are blowing up on YouTube, and simultaneously their brand is blowing up, and you can debate like which one is the chicken or the egg, right? Like, is the brand blowing up because of the exposure that they're getting on their social media and YouTube, or are they getting that exposure because the brand blew up? Probably some combination of both. It might be different for each person, but Look, again, more than ever, with all of the fakeness and all of the AI shit, people want to engage with and do business with people that they know, like, and trust. That's been the rule for 100 years. And in today's world, when there's so much AI and so much fake shit, like, the people want real people, real content. And so these guys have realized, like, if I want to grow my business, grow my brand, I got to be out in front of people in, digital spaces, showing them not just how I do business, but how I live, what I'm doing on a daily basis. I love to watch that stuff, man. I watch like Greg Lavecchia, Dom Icavone, those kind of guys, because I want to see what they're doing from a business perspective, but I'm also interested in how they're living. Like, what are their, like, Dom is one of those guys. Dom is a really cool guy. He responds to me. We've messaged back and forth on Instagram, but I'll see him like taking a supplement, some BCAAs, and I'll message him and be like, Dom, what brand are those? What are you using? And he'll hit me back and respond. I've seen him, just do different stuff, and I'll ask him a question like, hey, what was that? Like, where did you get those from? And he always messages me back. So that part is cool, like having access to people like that. And I love to watch their content, not just for the business aspect, but just to see who they are as people. And because I've seen like a lot of Dom's content and he's cool and messaging me back, all the products the brands that he's building, I buy them. When they launched Onside, the deodorant and body wash and all that, I ordered one of every scent. I drink 3D Energy because Dom and Christian Guzman, that's their brand. I like raw supplements, the Sebum raw stuff, because I like Sebum and I like this stuff matters, man. Like, totally. I've yet to get into the Bloom stuff, which is Greg Lavecchia's, but like, if I see Bloom on the shelf, I'm gonna buy it because I like Greg, I trust Greg, and so I'm like, I want to support their brands. So I think that's, to answer your question, I think that's why a lot of these guys are doing that. I think the biggest thing for me over the next 6 months is going to be execution. What I mean by that is I've already got the knowledge, I've got the programs, I've got the blueprint, I've got everything I need to scale this thing, to double it, and then ultimately to hit that 7-figure mark on a yearly basis. It's not difficult to do, but it's also not easy. And so what I've got to do is execute on what I already know, implement the things that I already have, reach out to the appropriate people in the companies that I already work with, sell them on the plan, on the program, enroll the people in the groups, get the groups going, and iterate, pivot, make changes from there. I've been stuck in this cycle where I've wanted it to be perfect before I roll it out, and I know consciously that it's never perfect. You have to roll it out and then see where it needs to be improved, see where things need to be changed, and then ultimately at some point you get to a more perfect version of whatever it is that you're doing. So what I'm going to document here over these next 6 months is that process of me doing all the things that I just said, and at the very top of the food chain on that is going to be execution. I've got to execute. I've got to do the things that I already know will help push this thing up to that 7-figure level. So follow along. I hope you guys liked video 1. I know it was a lot of talking, but I really just wanted to articulate my thoughts and what I was thinking and where I'm trying to take this thing. So again, stay tuned. More episodes to come.